Hey guys, it's Mike here, and welcome to another edition of Dragon Ball Super Reviews, in which I'm going to be reviewing Dragon Ball Super Episode 56, and giving my thoughts on what happened during the episode, as well as whether or not I thought this was a good or a bad episode. So a lot of stuff happened during this episode, and I do mean a lot. So without further ado, let me get into telling you what happened during this episode. So basically what happened during this episode is this. Goku and Vegeta and Trunks had arrived at the future just like they did at the end of episode 55, but when they got there, they were immediately assaulted by the resistance force who attacked them with rocket launchers. But in an awesome scene, Trunks jumped up into the air, cut them in half, and landed as they exploded. And he basically went over to them and he talked to them and explained to them that even though Goku looked exactly like Goku Black, and that's the whole reason they were trying to kill him, he in fact is not black at all, but he is just the real Goku from the original timeline. So after this, Trunks asks them about Mai, and they go down into their underground base and bunker, which is located in an old subway station, where Trunks and Mai meet each other once again. And basically both of them have a very emotional exchange, and Mai talked to Trunks and she basically said, "I thought you were dead," and Trunks said the same thing, and Trunks was crying essentially because he had thought she was dead, and obviously the two of them are very much in love, but basically they had rekindled and gotten back together. And basically Mai explained what had happened when Trunks was in the past, and Mai and the resistance fighters were trying to hold off, and she was trying to inspire them and saying, wait for Trunks to return from the future, he'll save us, and try and inspire them to hold on against Black while he was gone. I don't really understand why Black didn't just kill all of them, or how Mai even survived in the first place, but I guess that's kind of secondary and doesn't really matter. The point is that I really liked all of this stuff during the segment because it was very reminiscent to me of the Terminator. Obviously, Terminator and Terminator 2 are two of my most favorite movies of all time, and I really have loved all the influences in Dragon Ball having to do with those movies, specifically the Red Ribbon Army arc and the Android Saga and arc, in which obviously we have Trunks time traveling from the future to stop the evil robots from destroying the planet, very much like Kyle Reese. He had a bunch of flashbacks in that arc in which he was looking at his underground bunker and talking about his life and how the androids were assaulting and exterminating mankind, very reminiscent of Kyle Reese in the first Terminator. And, his return has definitely been an expansion upon all those influences and that lore, and actually getting to go to the future, not just seeing in flashbacks or flash forwards, depending upon your perspective, and getting to see Trunks' world, and Goku and Vegeta get to experience it and see it firsthand is something I've really enjoyed. And it's really great to go to this place where death actually has a meaning, there's actually tension, there's actually things going on, because of the fact that it's actually, a refreshing breath, because now we don't have to suspend our disbelief so much, or we don't have to ignore the fact that there's Dragon Balls, because aside from possibly the Namekian ones, they are basically in a situation where if you die here, you're dead for good. And that definitely plays a part later in this episode as well. But during this scene, they also revealed that apparently Yajirobe is still alive, and they gave a little bit more backstory as to what happened to Korin and the Sensu beans, because basically what happened was that, as we saw in the History of Trunks special, Yajirobe was attacked by the androids, and he was right about, to die, and was on the verge of death, when apparently Korin gave him the last sensu bean, perhaps the last one ever, and then died himself. Very similar to how Gohan, after, Gohan had gotten blasted and lost his arm, and Trunks was on the verge of death in the History of Trunks special, Gohan gave him the last sensu bean and passed out, and that's why his arm was never able to come back, and why he was in the predicament, the situation in which he was in, that inevitably led to him going to attack Android 17 and 18. But ultimately, I really liked this whole section of the episode, and everything was looking good at here, but then it got even better, because after this, Goku and Vegeta played Jenkin, rock, paper, scissors, to determine who gets to fight Black first, and Goku should know better by now than to keep trying to do that against Vegeta, because as we've seen, Vegeta always goes first in these situations. Even, the Toriyama always makes Vegeta wins those rock, paper, scissors contests like he did when Vegeta fought Pui Pui first, for example. Basically stuff like that that's always happened. So, of course, we knew Vegeta was going to fight this guy first, but all of us kind of were saying at the same time, oh no, Vegeta's going to fight him first. Vegeta is going to be the one. He's got to take the loss. And I'll say that Vegeta transformed into a Super Saiyan Blue and started to wail on Black. They actually met him and he just started beating him down and attacking him. But for some reason, Vegeta's attacks weren't doing anything to him. And Vegeta, backed off and he was afraid and he was like, what the heck is going on here? Why am I not hurting this guy? And that's when Black revealed that he actually was much stronger than before, and he revealed that he has a transformation, or this new form of the Super Saiyan Rose. And, at that point, he transformed, and he had the kind of purplish, pinkish aura, and the hair, and the awesome godly music began to play, and it was generally a really, really awesome executed scene that all of the different components came together. The animation, the music, everything came together and swelled in that penultimate zenith in which we got a really awesome transformation scene. But it didn't stop there because Vegeta and Black started to fight once again. And during this fight, Vegeta seemed like suddenly, wait a second, Vegeta's actually coming back against this guy. But then suddenly Vegeta stops and we see sticking through Vegeta's body an energy sword that was generated by Black going straight through his sternum. And Vegeta is done. Vegeta's, hair transforms back to his base form, falls to the ground in a very perilous situation, mortally wounded. What's gonna happen? And at this point, Goku steps up. He gets serious because he sees this guy almost, if maybe so, killed Vegeta. This is a guy who put down Vegeta as a Super Saiyan Blue, and Vegeta as a Super Saiyan Blue should be the same basic strength as Goku as a Super Saiyan Blue. So Goku knows, I can't even get my guard down at all. I cannot let this guy overwhelm me and go straight at him to fight him. And that doesn't work out for Goku either. I mean, shockingly enough, one of the concerns I had going into this episode was that I had thought perhaps Goku was going to beat Black, or Goku was going to dominate and defeat Black. Maybe he was going to start out Goku in his base fighting Black, and then Goku has to transform to fight Black in his, Super Saiyan Rose form. But that's not what ended up happening, and when Goku is fighting that Rose form, he gets knocked down into the ground, and Black charges up what seems like a Kamehameha. Again, how does he even have this power, especially since at this point we still thought perhaps he was Zamasu? But that is until a light comes down from the sky and we hear a voice and says, wait a second, you said I would be the one to get to defeat Goku and kill him. And suddenly, out of the sky, in a totally what the fuck moment, a huge twist that, honestly, no one really, I guess, knew was going to happen for sure. But, there were some hints, especially in that Dragon Ball Heroes video game, in which Zamasu, not Black, descends from the sky and stands right next to Black. And once and for all, we know that these two are different people totally. So again, the question remains and lingers in the air, and we have to wonder, who then is this Black character? Who then is this guy who has not only, taken the beatings from Goku as a Super Saiyan 2, but surpassed it to the degree where he could take down beatings from a Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta in his base, quote unquote, and then transform and start to beat not only Vegeta, but Goku? And that is a big thing that really, has perplexed me and everyone else because, first off, Zamasu is confirmed not to be this guy, or perhaps if it is Zamasu, it's an alternate form of this guy or an alternate version. Perhaps this is the Zamasu that is coming from the Universe 10 and the alternate timeline in Trunks' timeline of Universe 10, whereas the regular Zamasu in Universe 10 has not yet become who this character is. I mean, after all, this is still years in the future, so perhaps this is an alternate timeline version of Zamasu, but that that leaves us to question, why is this Zamasu the one who is evil in that timeline if it is not him? And what set him down that path if he never met Goku in the first place? And why would he hate Goku unless it's him? Unless perhaps he's been working with Black longer than any of us anticipated, and ultimately this is going to be an even bigger twist than we expected, because they made it seem over and over like he's going to turn into Black, and they even see those rose petals falling around him in the last episode like I talked about in my predictions, and then suddenly we see the two of them standing side by side, and mind blown, boom, so that is really, really difficult to figure out what is going on there. But ultimately, when it comes down to the pros versus the cons in this episode, I don't really have many, if any, cons with this episode, aside from a few things such as how did Mai survive the explosion? How did, they not get killed by Black, all the resistance fighters, between the time that Trunks left and came back? Why didn't Black just kill all of them, especially since we see them fighting him during that interim in between and blasting him with rocket launchers, which really should do nothing. Also, the fact that Trunks had to even destroy those rockets in the first place that were flying at Goku. Come on, Trunks. We all know those couldn't hurt him. But that's about it. Everything else about this episode I really, really liked. I thought was excellently done, excellently woven, and the execution, again, which I've always said is a big factor in Dragon Ball, is a big factor in general in these works, was spot on. So once again, this has been another great episode of Dragon Ball Super, one of the best of the entire series thus far. Top 5 contender, at least top 10, I definitely have to say so. So let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments section. Did you like this episode? Did you dislike it? And what do you think about these big twists and these big reveals that we've seen in this episode thus far? And wow, the tension has really been turned up, and I can't wait to see where this goes. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section, what you thought of this episode. And as I always say, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.